Hello and welcome to another video. This one is just going to be quite chill, I think. I found some footage of a painting that I did maybe a few weeks ago, and I thought I would put it together in a video for you. So right now I am opening up the colours that I think that I'm going to be using. So these paints are my favourite. They come in a tray and you get a wide selection of each colour in these strips, sort of the kind of paint strips that you get with like a paint by numbers. So these are quite hard to find. The only place that I've been able to find them is a shop called TK Maxx. Um, I really love these. These are the Vivid collection, although I haven't seen any other versions, but I assume since it's the Vivid one that there's maybe more. I also have a tray, which I think I'm going to pick up very soon. It contains these little round pots, and they originally were for holding beads, and I decided to use them for some paints. So in these, I have the matte acrylic paints that I bought, and it's worked really well. So I'll mix these colours together in these pots, and then they all have like a screw top lid, which is perfect for me. So it's this tray here. It does take a little while to take the lids off, but once they're off, then it's great. And I have this sort of colour palette that I wanted to start with in here. So I'm just going in and I am painting this in. So the scene that I have drawn out on the canvas, so I tend to draw out sort of rough areas just to make sure that the composition works. And with this one, I wanted to try incorporating two things that I've been spending a lot of time drawing and painting recently, which is landscapes and buildings, like incorporating the buildings into these paintings. I also wanted to try breaking the image up a little bit and drawing the eye in through a road, which you'll see as the picture comes together a little bit more, that there's like a road in the middle that draws you in, and then the road sort of curls around, and I really wanted to guide the eye a little bit around the canvas. There's some buildings up near the top and like a little barn sort of thing as well. There's a lot of things going on in this painting, but I wanted it to be a bit different. Normally I have a heavy theme of like water and rolling hills, and I wanted this one to be different. So the way that I start a painting is I'll start with one colour and sort of add it in areas, regardless of whether this is going to be the colour of the item at the end, but it helps me a little bit just to map out shapes and direction. You can see there I've just mapped out slightly the road placement, so it's not directly in the middle, but it sort of takes the eye in that way. Yeah, so I started with this beige colour. This is like a matte acrylic paint, and it's by the brand Peebo. It's a beautiful acrylic paint, and I would definitely recommend. I bought the matte acrylic because I wanted to paint inside my sketchbooks, and I wanted a paint that I could take out with me, which is why I also got this tray with the round tubs in, so I could seal them up when I'm out and about. I could put them in my backpack and they're not going to leak, and then once they're dry in my sketchbook they're not going to stick together if I did like 2 pages. These colours that I'm using now are a mixture that I've made of those paints. So I bought a select few paint colours that I wanted, and then I've used those to mix together. So I've used a lot of the primary colours, so making my own green colours, adding in white, yellow as well to make really dark and light colours, I guess. Just a mix of range that fit together. I feel like you have more control that way. If you make the colour, you can determine whether it's light or not, and then they sort of blend together a little bit more because you can control it a bit more. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think what I'm trying to say is that you can add in like the black or the white or mix in other colours to change it slightly, so you can make like those gradients, you can make those highlights that make sense to the colour that you've just used. I think that explains it. Another thing I should probably say as well is that having your colours like easily accessible at all times really frees me up. So having this tray with all of the colours in, mixing them together, having them pre-made and ready to go has really helped me with my painting speed as well, because I'm not having to make decisions as I go. I'm selecting from the colours that I have available, and I think that is also making some of my paintings more cohesive, but it's also teaching me the colours that I should mix together to get the right results. So it's really helping me with colour theory, and it's really helping me to build up a colour palette that is my go-to, and then having the skill to be able to make that over and over again. So you can see that the painting's really coming together. It's a lot of just adding colours in as I go, and it's really a trust the process situation. It's not always successful right away. I think on this occasion you can sort of see the vision, you can see what I wanted from the piece straight away, and sometimes that's really hard to find. I think getting through that trust the process stage is really important. It's definitely the hardest part because you can be discouraged because it's not turning out the way that you can see in your head, and it's just really important that you keep going. So I'm putting in the wall, and I think that this was a moment for me where I was like, oh, okay, it's actually coming together. So putting like blocking in the colours of the wall that is leading up the center essentially, I think that really helped bring the vision to life a little bit. I think as well, as soon as you take off most of, or you cover most of the white canvas, you know that you're winning, you know that it's coming to life, and then that makes it easier to go back in with more colour or add in details and things like that. It is a very long trust the process situation, but I think that when you paint something, you not only have the end result, you have the journey and the process. And I think throughout each painting that I've done, I've definitely learned something new each time. So I've just given you a little preview of what it looked like at that stage, and then I'm just going back in, adding in more colours. I think I'm going in with a bit of a darker colour now to add in those shadows. I think this is a really important part for me as well, because then I feel like it's really coming to life. I think when you've blocked in some of the colours Adding in those darker tones helps add the depth, and then for me personally, it makes more sense to like the direction things are facing, and it helps me to choose the next color that's going to go beside them, sort of defining the walls and any shadows and things like that. It just really helps me personally. So you'll see as well, as I'm going along, I'm sort of dipping into different colours, adding in those darker tones, dipping into the water, choosing different brushes. I don't really have like go-to brushes that I use. It's more how it feels. So I'll start off with like maybe a thinner brush for those details, and then I'll switch it up if I feel like, I don't know, I need like a more angular brush or a more rounded one. I've obviously chosen a bigger brush this time for filling in this path. So this like road path, I wanted to emulate like a dirt road that you see in the English countryside. It's something that I really love about when we're on our adventures and things. So I wanted to make sure that the path sort of had those colours, but it wasn't just a path. So I've added in those little patches of grass that run alongside, sort of the grass that grows on either side of the walls as you go along. I think that's really helping to bring the vision to life. So this next part I've sped up a lot because there's a lot of just adding in detail, tone, just adding in those black parts, blending them in, defining all the different shapes that I want to add colour to. And I thought like I'll just speed it up, you can see what's happening, and then we can get on to the other good stuff a bit later. So I've been painting today and it's coming along quite nicely. I'll show you. So this is what it looks like. And I'm quite happy with the process. This is normally like what it would start to look like. So it is a road leading up, some little houses on the hill that I haven't painted yet. I'm thinking maybe a pinky purpley sky. So I've gone in with like the sort of colours, and then I've just got to sort of define it a bit so you can tell what things are, look at the colours and make sure it makes sense. Yeah, so this is what it looks like right now. I've maybe been painting for about an hour, and it doesn't look like a lot in an hour, but it's fine, it's part of the process. So I will maybe check in with you again when I have painted a little bit more. I think I'm going to work on the sky now, but I'm happy with where it's going and I'm happy that it's coming together. So this is what it looks like. It's dried a little bit, I've had a little pause. This box also that I'm using as an easel is amazing. This is the box that I take with me everywhere. So this has been on many adventures. It has a little drawer on the front that you can pull out, and I normally have my watercolor paints in there, a couple of acrylic pens and all of my pencils. I might do a little video where I show you that because it is so amazing. It's got a little handle and everything, and then the part that leans up that turns into the easel that also locks, so when you're carrying it it's not going to be like flapping around, and I love it so much. So now I'm just adding in the sky. I've decided to go for a muted like orangey colour, sort of a pinky orange I would say. um I wanted it to have like an early morning or a late evening feel, and those are my favourite skies in the world, where you've got like different colours in there, bits of pinks and purples and orange and yellow. Really, really love those kind of skies, and I thought that I haven't done a painting yet. Normally I'll just paint like a blue cloudy sky, and so this one I wanted to go a little bit different, and I am really happy with the choices that I made for this one. I'm looking at the finished piece now, and I'm really happy with how the sky turned out. So the way I'm doing it is I've blocked in the sky with the lightest colour that I wanted to be in the sky. And then I'm going in with that same colour that I've mixed, but with more of the raw orange, and I'm adding that in to add in like wisps. What I mean by wisps is sort of where you when you look at the sky and you see like the clouds and they've sort of been like moved by the wind, and then you get like some swirly shapes. I've tried to add those in with the brushes, sort of keeping them really loose and just adding those in. I think it's a bit hard to see in this one, but I'm really happy with the way that the sky turned out. I must go back to it a bit later because when I'm looking at it now, there's more orange in the sky than there is on the screen. So sorry, spoiler alert. But I'm just going in and I'm adding. I felt like maybe the sky was too big, and I'm adding in these hills that you'll see in the background. And I'm so happy that I've added those in because I feel as though they really help keep the eye into the main part of the painting. I feel like the road leads you in, you sort of go between the houses, and then you go up to these rolling hill mountains in the background, and then you come back down. And I think that it's such a nice way, composition wise, personally, that I really enjoy that. So yeah, I'm just adding in more details, sort of spreading the houses out. I think I had drawn in a row of houses that connected, and I'm just breaking those apart, adding in a bit more green in between them, giving them some sort of bushes and trees and things like that. Yeah, and then there's just a lot of layering, a lot of the green colours coming in and going, lots of lighter colours, darker colours, mixing them up, blending, lots of decisions being made as I'm putting the paint on the canvas. If you're precious about materials, this method probably wouldn't work for you. I don't buy like expensive paints. I don't own any expensive paints because of the way that I paint, because I'm still quite new to it. Um, I'm making decisions as it goes on, so I'll add on some colours, and there's so many layers to each of my paintings because of this. And I think I do use a lot of paint, a lot of product, but that is just the way that it works for me. Um, but it is something that you could try. It is quite freeing because then you sort of remind yourself that nothing's permanent. I can fix that, I can change that. And I'm working on another painting now, and that has been really helpful for me because I tried to plan out exactly the colours, and part way through that I was like, okay, no. And I've gone back to this way of painting where I'm making decisions as it goes on the canvas, and I think that that will just be the way that I do face each painting as I go forward, and that's fine. I've added in some yellowy colours, and I'm adding in a bit more green near the top. I think when you sit back from a painting, it's really important to check to make sure that your eye is sort of greeting the image the way that you intended. That I feel like it's really important that there's no colours that are sort of sticking out or that don't seem like they fit quite right when you're considering how the light might hit, say like one field, and as soon as you've got the color for that field figured out, you need to make sure that that makes sense with the rest of the grass, the wall, things like that. You've got to make sure that nothing sticks out essentially. So having like those yellowy colors near the back makes sense because the light would be hitting those. The top of the mountains being a little bit lighter makes sense. And it's important to just check that as you go. So I'm just having a little check here and I'm taking you along with the camera just to show you the process. I suppose you've got to make sure that the colours work, that it makes sense. So sometimes it's important to sit back. I think once you've done really close part or both, you just to make sure face you're happy with everything. The smaller details. So the houses, I left those till last because I was a little bit worried about them. I hadn't made the colour decisions yet. I was a little bit worried about, I hadn't decided how much detail they were going to have because I still feel like my landscapes are a bit loose. And I hadn't decided whether the houses were going to follow that style or if they were going to be a bit more detailed. So I'd left them till last, And so I'm just going in there now. I've gone for like a light purpley beige colour, and I mixed this colour and added a bit more purple to the sides that I felt like needed some shadow. Went for like a brown roof. And you can see I have really bad habit, but it also really works, of blending and spreading with my finger. So sometimes I'll use that technique if I have painted over something that doesn't need to be that colour. I'll use my finger to sort of like sweep it up and put it back in the place that it's meant to be. But sometimes I'll use my finger to blend. Sometimes I do that for sky. If I'm doing like a blue sky with a white cloud, I'll use my finger and I'll sort of use that to blend it in. And that's probably laziness, because there's probably a brush or a sponge or something nearby that I could use, but it's just a habit that I have. And sometimes I don't even notice that that's what I'm doing. Sometimes I do it and then I'm like, oh, okay, that worked, cool. And then I just move on. But you might notice a few times if you've watched any of my other painting videos that that is something that I do. I used to do that a lot with watercolour, and I think that's where the habit started, because it's really easy to blend, and I think I've just carried that on into my journey with acrylic paint. This isn't necessarily important to the painting, but something else that I've noticed, and I've only noticed through filming myself paint, another habit that I seem to have is, I wouldn't say it's a habit actually, but the way that I hold my paintbrush varies so much, and I'll go between left hand, right hand, the angle, the finger that I'm resting it on. It's really interesting actually, because it's not a conscious decision. It's not something that I know that I'm doing, but it happens. And I just feel like it's really interesting. I guess I just wanted to comment on that. So I've just gone in and I'm just adding in loads of little bits of detail, little shadow bits, subtle colour blends as well, just things to make it piece together. So I've been maybe painting for another 20 minutes and this is what it's starting to look like. So all I've added in that little gap was I decided to make the barn grey. I felt like it needed to be a different colour to the houses, and because it was a bit closer I wanted something a bit brighter. So I've gone for a light grey with a darker grey roof, and I've added in some hedges sort of to one side of it, and I feel like I might add in some more to the other. I'm patching in some bushes and trees and things around these houses. I didn't want them to seem like they were really close together, so I'm just adding in a darker colour now, and then there's already a lighter colour underneath. So I'm really enjoying this process of adding these in. I think it's really coming together. So I've covered all of the canvas now, and so it's just a case of adding in extra details as I go. So I'm still relatively new to acrylic paint on canvas, but I feel like it's definitely the thing that I love to do. I think it's definitely something that I'm gonna keep doing. I think there's an element of fear that was there about how it just seems so permanent, it's so opaque going from watercolor to that, and I think I'm so glad that I've had this inspiration. I have most of my canvases up on the wall, and I've been thinking about putting some of them up for sale, although I'm not sure, my confidence isn't quite there yet. But I would love to know if you have found a new art material, or if you've found something that you were maybe scared to do beforehand and you've tried it and it's now your favourite thing in the world. Or also if you've had a period of time where you've used a new material and then you've gone back to what you used to do, because I'm not sure where this is going to go yet, but I would like to continue painting more canvases like this because it makes me feel so proud. It makes me feel like I've achieved something amazing, whereas before I would never make my watercolors outside of my sketchbook unless you know, it was for a gift or it was to put somewhere. So yeah, just let me know in the comments below if you want to. Back to the video now. I'm adding in all these little pieces, and it's mostly a case of going between adding in some darker colours like a dark brown, black, dark green, then adding in lighter colours next to that, or once you're adding in those darker areas, it's easier to figure out where the lighter areas need to be. There's still some areas on the canvas that need to be changed, the colours and things like that. But I think, like I was saying earlier, I make those decisions as I put it on the canvas, and so it's really important to give yourself that grace and give yourself that time to make those decisions. Sometimes you need to sit away from it for a really long time. Sometimes you need to walk past it 10 times and then go, ah, yes, that's what I need to add. And so it's all just part of the process, and it's all part of creating a painting. And I think that it's really important that you need to know that your style is not necessarily the same as mine and my process. Some things that I do might work for you and some things might not. I'm also open for any tips and tricks as well because, like I say, I'm relatively new to acrylic painting, and I would love any advice, any materials, things like that, any paints that you would recommend that you've tried and you think that I would enjoy, paintbrushes, everything. Any tips would be so helpful. Well, that is the end of this video, and thank you so much for sticking around to the end. This is what the canvas looks like at the end of this video. I will do an updated version when I've come back to it, but I needed a little bit of space from it. I wasn't really sure what else I could do at that time. And so I'm looking at it now. It still looks like this in the video, but I will do a little, I'll finish it and then I'll do a little update in one of my other videos. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, I would love to hear about that. And hopefully I'll see you in my next one. Thank you. Bye.